Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with the Weekly Comic Book Runner. We've covered this week's X-Men books. Now it's time to move on to this week's Spider-Man books. Kicking things off with this amazing Spider-Man number 13. Where we left off, the mystery of who the new Hobgoblin is, well, was solved, but it turns out there were two. Both Ned Leeds and Roderick Kingsley were the new Hobgoblin. And the combined assault of the two was a little more than Spider-Man seemed able to deal with. But his own glider managed it. He takes some injuries. His own glider is able to save him, but only for a little bit. Meanwhile, Norman from the hospital, it seems to be working on a new suit for Spider-Man. But Spidey's own glider is destroyed. And just as it seems that the Hobgoblins have Peter at their mercy, someone shows up in the suit that Norman was working on. But Kingsley betrays Ned. And Norman gives him a few hits for that. It's Norman in the suit, after all. Though the question now is, who brought Norman's laptop to the hospital? Peter then goes to see Betty and explain what's happened. But it turns out that the device, the Winkler device, was never found. In an unknown location, Kingsley approaches the Winkler device and sits down in it, and an unseen but familiar arm activates the device. And behind the entire thing is revealed to be none other than Queen Goblin. Looking to make sure that Norman Osborn's sins come back to haunt him. And that is where the issue ends. I gotta say, I'm actually quite happy to see the return of Queen Goblin. It's probably one of the funner moments of Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Beyond story. So, moving on, we've got Spider-Man number 2, continuing End of the Spider-Verse. Where we left off, it's another Spider-Verse story. Shathra is doing what she can to corrupt the spider totems throughout the multiverse, sending her minions after Peter. Among her minions is Spider-Man Noir, who stabbed Jessica Drew with a mystical blade that seemed to remove her from the Great Web completely. So we begin on another Earth with it's explained. It has been explained that this is the Avengers Campus Earth, but Spider-Man is responding to an assault on the Worldwide Engineering Brigade HQ. Though it seems that it's 3 other Spider-Mans who have broken in. Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Ham, and the other one I'm not entirely certain. Back on Earth 616, Um, Moreland, Miles, yes, Moreland, who's helping the spiders for once, Silk, and Peter are trying to decide what are dealing with the fact that they've been betrayed by Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Girl, Spider-Punk, and Ghost Spider. Moreland feels that the best thing to do is kill them. But the fight breaks out between the spiders when Aranya shows up and spirits away Peter, Miles, Cindy, and Moreland. While on Loom World, Shatter in the sense that she can no longer see the spiders. But they're on Earth. They've gone to hide on Earth 616 Beta. But some allies have arrived as well. Including Spider Princess, Hunter Spider, Web Weaver, Night Spider, Sun Spider. All are introduced by Spider Princess by musical number. Peter meets Night Spider and, well, seems to be a little disappointed in the fact that, she didn't learn that with great power comes great responsibility, but rather no accountability. But Madam Web explains what's going on. Moreland explains his how it is he came to be an ally of the spiders. After he killed an unnamed spider, but, well, it does appear to be none other than Spider Boy from Amalgam. He took Spider Boy's dimensional watch and made his way to Earth 001, where he discovered that Shathra was Shathra's plan and fought with the corrupted Spider-Man, but also what appears to be the corrupted version of Peter's Slinger identities, and managed to escape. However, during the fight with Shathra's forces in issue 1, Miles is stung by one of Shathra's wasps and begins to change. And now Shathra can see the spiders, and, well, that revelation is where the issue ends. But we do get a shot of the spider she's corrupted, including what appears to be Arachnite, my boy. I'm digging this. I'm enjoying. It's funny. The last Spider-Verse story is the first one I actually read. But anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt, #1. So this is a flashback miniseries, and it is writer James DeMatteis states in a in the tail end of the issue that it it's kind of it's intended to be seen somewhat as a sister series to the Ben Reilly Spider-Man miniseries from last year. I think that came out last year, late last year, early this year, whatevs. So this takes place during the Clone Saga. At the point when during the Clone Saga, there was a point where Peter Parker that had been starring in the Spider-Man books since the Spider-Man books have been focusing on since the first clone story ended, was actually the clone, and that Ben Reilly was the real deal. So Peter and MJ moved to Portland, Oregon. Peter had ended up losing his powers, and well, yeah. So we begin with Kraven seemingly resurrecting himself, pulling himself out of his grave, while in Portland, a few years previously, Peter Parker is running along rooftops and barely making jumps across them. He talks about this with Mary Jane, but yeah, he basically figures he's got what could best be described as a superhero equivalent of PTSD. Thinking about all the villains he's fought over the years, and all the villains, all of whom, intended to kill him. But yeah. However, a new one has arrived on the scene. But Peter's also having the occasional hallucinations, including one at his job. While Gregor, a friend of Kraven the Hunter's, who helped train Kraven's children, who at this point were presumed dead, as was Kraven, is behind everything and intending to torture and destroy Spider-Man. Succeed where Kraven failed, basically. But Peter's hallucination in his workplace is preceded by meeting a speaker that is there by the name of Tracy McCabe, guest lecturer at the school, incredibly accomplished, world traveler who's written award-winning books on everything from science and psychology to African history and global religions. After they part ways, however, like I said, Peter has another hallucination and just kind of leaves. As he passes by Gregor, and it's somewhat suggested that Gregor may have had something to do with this hallucination. So I get the feeling, though, that Gregor and Tracy both had something to do with it. But MJ walks out on Peter because he's not telling her about what's going on. He has another hallucination. This of a giant spider trying to eat him. But MJ goes back to her and Peter's place and finds it kind of destroyed. And he actually tells her that he had a hallucination. And he tries to comfort her, but someone appears to be, other than Gregor, appears to be watching from the shadows. And that is where the issue ends. Interesting. Part of another thing that's brought up in from what DeMatteis says is that Gregor didn't basically kind of, when the Grim Hunter was killed, Gregor just kind of vanished until popping up again in Khazar, and he seemed very different and kind of jacked. So this is to kind of bridge gaps, so to speak, between the Grim Hunter's death and Gregor's appearance in Khazar back in the 90s. But good start to the series. I've got my. I do kind of feel like some things are being. I don't want to say necessarily say telegraphed, but the concept of Chekhov's gun comes to mind. The idea being that don't put a gun in the drawer in Act One unless you're going to use it by Act Three. So, moving on to our next book, we've got Venom number 13. Where we left off, Eddie had discovered that all the Kings in Black that he dealt with in the far future with Meridius, and including Meridius himself, are future points of Eddie Brock. However, he's trying to make his way out of the wherever Meridius has all the Kings in Black. And it seems that, but this leads to a conversation between one of his future versions and himself. Bedlam briefly shows up, but or one of them briefly turns into the one that Eddie's dealing with is briefly turns into Bedlam, but it's just it's kind of things where with like ones that I couldn't I wanted to tell you that this is all it's you, but it's hard to kind of this is all they've all lived through all these events from the other side basically. So but Eddie's able to make his way out of make his way through, but he ends up in limbo, where he kills a demon. He seemingly kills a demon sorcerer, though it's explained that, and leaves a little bit of himself behind for the demon sorcerer's assistant, who explains that his master will be so pleased with that. But and Eddie's told also that in limbo, time moves differently. But Kinesis travels through limbo when he's attacked by goblins with capable of firing arrows from bows, and they're able to ignite as soon as they're knocked on the bow. But he deals with their apparent leader, who's revealed to be none other than Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen of Limbo, who apparently has been talking with someone similar, who has a similar appearance to Eddie. But Madeline thinks that perhaps her and Eddie, both being royalty, perhaps they can help each other. And that is where the issue ends. Setting up for the upcoming Dark Web crossover between the X-Men books and Amazing Spider-Man, as well as Venom, obviously. Which brings us to our last book for the moment, Ghost Rider number 8. Where we left off, Johnny Blaze and Talia Warroad had become allies and traveling companions, looking to basically take care of the Shadow Country, what's going on with all the Shadow Country stuff. In the hotel room they're currently staying in, Talia shows Johnny her basically her big conspiracy board. The whole various newspaper magazine clippings and a thumbtack, a little thumbtack with a string tied to it, going to the thumbtack, holding another one up, show connections. But Johnny says that he thinks she's looking at it wrong. Takes down all the clippings and organizes them geographically. It appears they create a pentagram. So, where these appear to, one of the places that appears to burn the hottest is Chicago. So, that's where the two are heading. In the unknown cemetery, Zeb having killed Alabaster, has recovered, and along while Talia and Johnny make their way to Chicago, well, they come upon various corrupted creatures along the way. And Talia manages to slightly bring out the spirit of vengeance in Johnny, and he takes the wheel of her car, turning it basically into a hell hearse. After this, exhaust comes out, and still following the trail, so to speak. But Zeb discovers that Alabaster is being manipulated by Blackheart, while Talia and Johnny make their way deeper into Chicago. But in an effort to turn Johnny into Ghost Rider, Talia kisses him. Part of her mystical whammy involves touch, so. But he begins to change into the Rider as the issue ends, telling Talia to run. Also, apparently, kissing Johnny tastes like ash. I do like the direction this Ghost Rider series seems to be going in. I'm still a little bummed that Ed Brisson's Ghost Rider run from a few years ago got cut short. I feel like there was a lot of plot points that never got wrapped up, and I hope that Benjamin Percy ends up revisiting some of those plot threads and tying them up. Some were tied up in a one shot afterwards, but yeah. Moving on to our last movie moment, we've got Moon Knight, number 17. Where we left off, Moon Knight was looking for information on the Tutor, while Hunter's Moon dealt with the Tutor's assassins, and was seemingly killed for doing so. So this issue, well, Moon Knight has discovered the death of Hunter's Moon, and yeah, he's not happy. So he deals with the Nemean and what were they? The Nemean and Grand Mall, and well, he takes them to the Midnight Mission. And the Midnight Mission deals with them. Defeating the two. And, well, Moon Knight explains he did his research on the Nemean and Grand Mall. However, it's made clear that the two of them didn't research Moon Knight, or the Fists of Khonshu in general. They keep referring to Hunter's Moon as his sidekick, and Moon Knight goes, no, Hunter's Moon isn't my sidekick. He's his brother, a Fist of Khonshu. And Fists of Khonshu don't die. Following night at the structure's Vampire Conclave, well, it gets the Grand Mall and the Nemean are basically thrown into the skylight to interrupt the Tutor's speech, as Mr. Knight shows up with his date, Tigra. That is where the issue ends. Yeah, I had my thoughts on that, what was going to happen from the death of Hunter's Moon. But yeah, Khonshu isn't exactly. Khonshu's known for, you know, doing the whole resurrection bit, so yeah, that shouldn't have been a surprise. Anyway, that is going to do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal account in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.